Have you ever watched a great illusionist up close? The experience is fascinating. He directs your attention to his right hand, making a big, dramatic gesture. And while every eye is locked on what is obvious, on the performance, the left hand, in silence, executes the move that really matters. The secret is not in speed, but in controlling your perception. He does not fool your eyes, he commands your focus. Now the most important question. What if I told you that this same architecture of illusion is used every day, all the time, in the most critical decisions of your life, in crucial conversations, in power struggles, in every interaction that shapes your future? Have you ever felt that? That feeling that while your attention was trapped by a manufactured crisis, an insignificant detail, or an emotional explosion, the real game was happening at a level you could not see. Until it was too late. This is not about being stupid or gullible. It is about the physics of influence. It is about understanding that in any human system, the one who controls focus, controls reality. Most of us spend our lives reacting to the dramatic gesture of the right hand, being dragged by narratives, urgencies, and emotions that are often nothing more than distraction. We get exhausted putting out fires without ever noticing who lit the match and why. Now imagine, for a moment, being the only person in the audience who decides not to look where the illusionist is pointing. Imagine training your mind to ignore the performance and focus on the method. To see the strings, the levers, the hidden mechanics behind the curtain. That is what it means to have extreme strategic perception. The archetype of the great detective, embodied in figures like Sherlock Holmes, is our model for this skill. He is the ultimate representation of a mind that refuses illusion. He is not carried away by the story people tell him. He takes the story apart to find the facts. He is not impressed by drama. He analyzes motivation. Stay with me, because what we are going to do here today is exactly that. We are not going to applaud the magic. We are going backstage. We are going to reverse engineer the method, decoding the mental protocol that allows someone to see through the fog and operate with a clarity that looks almost supernatural to everyone else. What you are about to discover is not a list of tricks. It is the science behind all of them. It is a thinking system that, once you understand it, permanently changes the way you see the world and interact with it. And the first step to mastering this system is understanding the fundamental vulnerability in our own design. The programming flaw in our brain that turns us into such a captive, susceptible audience. We need to expose the blind spot of the human mind. But before we turn on the lights over this fundamental flaw, I want to pause for a moment. Because I know this analogy of the great illusionist is not just a figure of speech. The feeling of having your focus diverted, of realizing too late that the real game was happening somewhere else. This is a deep and often lonely human experience. Maybe it happened in a promise someone made to you, in a headline that outraged you, or in a family dynamic that has been repeating for years. If this idea made any sense to you, if this conversation touched something real, I invite you to take part in it more actively. Leave a comment below sharing, in one word or one sentence, what hit you the hardest so far. It is not about exposing a story, but about validating a feeling. By sharing, you not only give me valuable feedback, you also show other people watching this video that they are not alone in this perception. You help create our community, our own backstage. Your engagement here is the fuel that allows me to keep creating content like this. Every like you leave on the video is a powerful signal to the algorithm that deep analysis that goes beyond the superficial matters. It is your way of saying, yes, I want more of this. Your participation is what makes this channel grow and reach more minds that, just like us, are trying to understand the mechanisms behind human behavior. So if you feel this is your place, if you want to keep going on this journey to decode the codes of influence and perception, take this moment. Leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss any step of our map. It is your access pass to everything we are still going to uncover together. Done? Great. Because now, with our community stronger and more connected, we are ready to face this vulnerability head-on. This blind spot, this factory flaw in our brain that strategists and illusionists love to exploit, has a name, and neuroscience has already mapped it with impressive precision. This blind spot, This fundamental vulnerability that makes us the perfect audience for the illusionist is actually a bug in our default operating system. Think of it as an inheritance, an ancient code still running in our modern brain. Psychology has given this phenomenon a name, the amygdala hijack. Inside your mind, there is a sentry, a primitive and extremely efficient bodyguard called the amygdala. Its only mission is to guarantee your survival. To do that, it screams danger at the slightest sign of threat, real or imagined. The problem is that this sentry's software has not been updated in thousands of years. It was designed to save us from predators on the savannah, but today it reacts with the same intensity to a real predator and to a rude email from your boss, a tough question in a presentation, or a look of disapproval from someone you love. When this sentry sounds the alarm, it executes a drastic action. It hijacks your brain's resources and temporarily shuts down your prefrontal cortex. In other words, your inner CEO, the logical, creative, and rational part of your mind, is put on hold. That is why the mental fog appears. That is why you become reactive and predictable, the perfect victim for illusion. The impact of this hidden mechanism on our lives is massive. It directly affects the quality of our most important decisions and sabotages any personal transformation journey we try to start. Understanding this mechanism is the first step to stepping out of the audience and beginning to have real insights into your own mindset. Now I want to go even deeper. The key is to stop seeing this reaction as a weakness and start seeing it as a system to be understood. Characters like the great detective fascinate us precisely because they represent full command over this primitive reaction. They symbolize a mind that refuses to be hijacked. The calm they show under pressure is not the absence of emotion. It is proof that the CEO of the brain stayed in charge, analyzing the data instead of reacting to the alarm. They show us that it is possible to prevent this hijack, that it is possible to train the mind to recognize a false alarm and keep control of the situation. This is the real frontier of self-awareness and strategic influence. If the idea of having this overprotective, slightly outdated bodyguard inside your mind made sense to you, write in the comments. I understood the bug. Recognizing this bug is the first and most important revelation. But the real question, the one that puts us on the path to mastery, is this. If this hijack is a chemical and neurological process that happens almost instantly, is there a real, practical way to stop it before it takes over? The answer is a loud and transformative yes. And the way to do it lies in understanding a hidden truth about the architecture of our mind. Inside you, at every moment, a silent duel is taking place. On one side, you have your autopilot, what science calls System 1. It is fast, instinctive, emotional, and incredibly efficient at making thousands of small daily decisions without you having to think about them. It is what guides you home without effort, what makes you instantly like or dislike someone. This is the domain of your sentry, the anonymous hero of your routine. On the other side, you have your manual mode, or System 2. This is your logical, deliberate CEO. It is slow, analytical, consumes a huge amount of energy, and is capable of complex reasoning, strategic planning, and self-control. The big secret, one of the most powerful revelations of our journey, is that we spend more than 95% of our time in autopilot. And that is a good thing, because it saves us a massive amount of mental effort. The problem, the real core of the issue, is that in high-pressure moments, exactly when we most need the clarity and firepower of manual mode, the autopilot, in its attempt to protect us, refuses to hand over the controls and locks us into a cycle of reaction and panic. That is the hijack in action. Now I want to go even deeper. The true transformation of our mindset is not about fighting autopilot or trying to eliminate it. That would be pointless and exhausting. The key, the power that the detective archetype teaches us, lies in the ability to consciously shift gears. It is the subtle art of noticing that autopilot is no longer the right mode for the situation and intentionally activating manual mode on demand. The impact of this single ability on the quality of our decisions is immeasurable. It is like going from passenger to pilot of your own mind. Every time you manage to make this shift, you are literally accessing the backstage of your brain and rewriting your default response to chaos. What looks like a superpower is, in reality, control over that internal switch. If you see yourself in this constant duel, in this struggle to take the wheel in crucial moments, write in the comments, "Time to take control." Knowing that this switch exists is what gives us hope and puts us on the right track. But knowledge alone does not create transformation. The big question that marks the start of our practical journey is this: what is the first key we turn to ignite this deliberate, powerful engine? What is the first step to training this gear shift? The answer takes us straight to the first and most fundamental key of this transformation. We need to recalibrate our perception. The first practical step to taking control is learning to use what I call the mental magnifying glass. This has nothing to do with having sharper vision or better hearing. It is about a conscious shift in posture, moving from a passive spectator of reality to an active scanner of information. Most people simply look. The strategic mind learns to see. In the books, the great detective does not just see mud on a man's boot. He sees a specific reddish clay that only exists in one region, and that single detail, invisible to everyone else, changes the whole course of the investigation. In your world, that mud on the boot might be a micro-expression of contempt that lasts for a fraction of a second on a colleague's face, the slight hesitation in a client's voice before they say yes, or a sudden shift in a family member's posture during a delicate conversation. Here lies the hidden truth pulsing under the surface of our daily interactions. The most crucial information is rarely spoken out loud. The impact of beginning to notice these signals is immense because we are surrounded by data yet starving for insights, simply because our filters are not calibrated to see what truly matters. Now I want to go even deeper. This may sound complex, but your mental transformation begins with a surprisingly simple, practical exercise. It is our first real access to the backstage of human communication. In your next meeting, conversation, or negotiation, I challenge you to do this. Consciously ignore about half of the words being spoken and dedicate 100% of your attention to how they are being spoken. Focus on tone of voice, on speed, on pauses, on gestures, on breathing. The words are the story the person wants to tell you. The nonverbal language is the story their body cannot help telling. By doing this, you force your brain to search for a new set of patterns, initiating the calibration process of your perception. It is the first step toward making decisions based on a much more complete picture of reality. If you accept the challenge of turning on this new filter and becoming a more conscious observer, write in the comments, "Observer mode activated," But gathering these data points, as valuable as they are, is only half the equation. The real magic, what truly separates the ordinary mind from the strategic one, happens when we learn to connect these seemingly random dots. The big question is, once our mental magnifying glass delivers these fragments of truth, what exactly do we do with them? The answer brings us to the second key of our journey. What we do with these fragments of truth is run them through a process, a powerful filter I call the clarity algorithm. Having the best mental magnifying glass in the world is useless if the lens through which you analyze the data is fogged by emotion, fear, or assumptions. This is where we enter the realm of cold logic, one of the most misunderstood and powerful tools for decision-making under pressure. There is an iconic phrase attributed to the great detective archetype: when you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. That is much more than a clever line. It is a description of a mental algorithm designed to destroy confusion. Under stress, our mind is not an impartial researcher of truth. It is a horror movie screenwriter. It creates 1,000 catastrophic scenarios, each one more vivid than the last. The clarity algorithm forces you into a binary, ruthless distinction. On one side, you put what is fact. On the other, what is fear. Fact is what your mental magnifying glass actually captured. The tone of voice changed, the deadline was missed, the figure in the report is wrong. Fear is the story your mind tells about those facts. He is going to fire me. The project is going to fail. They are plotting against me. That separation is one of the most liberating revelations you can ever have. Now, I want to go even deeper. Practicing this algorithm is an act of mental discipline. It is asking yourself, in the middle of an emotional storm, what do I know with 100% certainty, and what am I just imagining? It is a process of peeling reality, layer by layer, until only the hard, undeniable core of facts remains. The impact of this practice on your mindset is enormous. You begin to realize that facts, no matter how harsh they are, can be managed. We can create strategies to deal with facts. What paralyzes us, what makes us vulnerable, is the shapeless, infinite monster of fear and anxiety. By isolating the facts, you remove the fuel from your inner sentry, you take power away from emotion, and you hand your logical CEO only the raw material it can actually use. That is the hidden truth behind emotional control. It is not about suppression, it is about filtering. If you are willing to pursue clarity and to separate what is real from what is just mental noise, write in the comments, commitment to the truth. But once you achieve this inner clarity and master your own narrative, a new and fascinating playing field appears. The question becomes, how can we use this lucidity not only to control ourselves, but to influence the environment and the people around us? This question shifts us from inner mastery to outer impact. This is where we enter the third and perhaps most sophisticated key of our journey, context engineering. Once you have clarity, you stop being a thermometer that merely reflects the emotional temperature of the room and become a thermostat that actively sets and adjusts that temperature. This is the essence of strategic influence. The detective archetype rarely reacts. He acts in ways that force others to react to him. He does not step into someone else's game. He creates a new board where his own rules of logic and observation prevail. This is one of the deepest revelations about personal power. Real strength is not in winning the argument, but in designing it from the start. The main tool for this engineering is not the statement, but the question. The reactive, unprepared mind makes accusations and declarations. The strategic mind asks questions. Instead of saying, "Your price is too high," which creates confrontation, it asks, "Can you help me understand how this number was built?" The first is a closed door. The second is an invitation backstage. With that simple shift, you stop being an adversary and become an investigator, a collaborator in the search for the hidden truth. The impact of this change in mindset is immediate. You disarm defensiveness, invite the other person into the realm of logic, and take control of the narrative without firing a single shot. Now I want to go even deeper. What is happening here is a process called framing. By asking strategic questions, you are subtly defining the terms of the conversation. You are choosing the battlefield. Instead of debating the feeling that something is expensive, you move the discussion to the process of how the value was formed. This is a powerful transformation. You guide the other person's attention away from the emotional territory and bring it into your arena, analysis and facts. It is an elegant influence technique because it leads the other person to reach their own conclusions by following the trail of logic you laid out. It is the peak of collaborative decision-making, where you lead without looking like you are leading. If you can see the immense power in asking the right question instead of simply reacting, write in the comments, investigator mindset. But context engineering, this ability to ask surgical questions and keep control of the narrative, depends on a crucial prerequisite we have not talked about yet. How can you stay in this logical, curious investigator state if inside your own sentry is screaming and the amygdala hijack is trying to drag you back into chaos? That is the million-dollar question, and the answer takes us to the fourth key of our journey, the one that serves as armor for all the others, the principle of emotional shielding. The truth is, you cannot stop your inner sentry from shouting, but you can choose not to blindly obey its orders. To do that, we use a powerful mental technique known as observer detachment. Think about the detective archetype. He analyzes the crime as a fascinating puzzle, not as a personal tragedy that consumes him. That distinction is vital. It is not about being cold or indifferent. It is about being effective. It is a strategic decision to preserve your most valuable resource under pressure: clarity. The technique is counterintuitive, but its impact is instant. The moment you feel the emotional wave rising, anger, fear, anxiety, I want you to do a visualization exercise. Imagine yourself floating out of your own body, like a silent drone, rising above and looking down at the scene. Look at the situation, look at the other people, and look at the you who is down there in the middle of the storm. From this higher and safer perspective, ask yourself, what would this observing me, free from the emotional weight, advise the me who is down there in the center of the storm to do? This simple shift in point of view is one of the deepest revelations about self-mastery. Now I want to go even deeper. What this technique does, neurologically, is create space. It opens a gap between the stimulus and your response. In that space, you reactivate your logical CEO. By forcing a third-person perspective, you break the spell of the amygdala hijack and invite your prefrontal cortex back into the game. It is a backstage maneuver you execute inside your own mind, a hack in your system to prevent emotional short-circuit. This is the real mental transformation journey, not the absence of emotion, but the ability to avoid becoming its hostage. The impact of this shield is that it protects your ability to make rational decisions even when the world around you is on fire. If you can visualize the power of becoming the calm observer of your own mind, write in the comments, "I am the observer." But this shield protects you in the heat of the moment, in duels and confrontations. What about when the challenge is not a single emotional explosion, but a storm of information, with dozens of variables, loose pieces, and conflicting data threatening to overload even the calmest, most prepared mind? How do we organize that chaos to find a path? The answer leads us to the fifth and final key of our journey, and it requires demystifying one of the most famous concepts in the detective universe: the mind palace. Forget the image of a vast, ornate library inside your head. For us, the principle is much more practical and accessible. Let us call it by its technical name: cognitive externalization. The hidden truth is that our brain, as brilliant as it is, has extremely limited working memory, like a computer's RAM. Under pressure, that capacity, which is already small, shrinks even more. Trying to solve a complex problem while keeping all the pieces in your head is like trying to assemble a 1,000-piece puzzle in the dark with one hand tied behind your back. It is a recipe for overload and terrible decisions. The solution is as simple as it is revolutionary. Take the information out of your head and put it into the physical world. Use a sheet of paper, a whiteboard, a notes app. The medium does not matter. The act of dumping the information is what creates the transformation. List every variable, draw arrows and connections, create mind maps. By doing this, you perform one of the most powerful magic tricks of human cognition, a revelation with a huge impact on your clarity. You stop carrying the problem and start looking at it. Now I want to go even deeper. When a problem is only inside your mind, it fuses with your ego, your anxieties, your identity. It feels amorphous, infinite, and personal. But the moment it is on paper, it becomes an external object. Separate from you, finite, analyzable. You gain a perspective that is simply impossible to have when the chaos exists only in thought. This is the true backstage of problem solving. You free your precious mental energy from the task of remembering everything and redirect it to the task of thinking about everything. That is when hidden patterns suddenly become obvious and creative solutions emerge. This is the real practical mind palace. An external, organized space that mirrors your thoughts and lets you see them clearly. If you are ready to stop carrying the weight of your problems inside your mind and start looking at them directly, write in the comments. Organized mind. With this final key, we complete our toolkit. We have the magnifying glass, the algorithm, the engineering, the shield, and now the map. 5 pieces of immense power. But just like a chess master who knows each move, true genius is not in knowing them separately, but in making them dance together on the board of real life. Exactly. True genius is in the symphony, in the coordinated dance of all these pieces. This is where we stop seeing isolated keys and begin to see the full blueprint. It is the turning point of our journey. Think about it. We started with calibrated perception, our magnifying glass, which allows us to collect raw data from reality that others do not even notice. Then we pass those data through the clarity algorithm, our filter, which separates fact from fear and gives us solid ground to think on. With that clarity, We use context engineering, our rudder, to steer interactions and influence outcomes strategically. Throughout this process, emotional shielding, our shield, protects us from the amygdala hijack and keeps our inner CEO in charge. And to handle all this complexity, we have cognitive externalization, our map, which lets us see the chaos from the outside with a privileged perspective. Do you see it now? These are not random techniques. They are the core modules, the native apps of a new and powerful operating system for your mind. That is the final revelation that ties our whole conversation together. We are talking about a full upgrade of your mindset, a transition from the default system, which is reactive and fear-based, to an intentional system designed not to avoid pressure, but to thrive under it. The goal of this transformation is not to create a life without problems, but to forge a mind that turns chaos into clarity and doubt into decision. Now I want to go even deeper. The impact of installing this new system is that pressure stops being a force that crushes you and becomes a force that sharpens you. Just like carbon under immense pressure turns into diamond, your mind, equipped with these tools, begins to use challenges as catalysts for sharper thinking and stronger decisions. This is the hidden truth behind people who seem unshakably calm in the most critical moments. It is not that they do not feel pressure. It is that their operating system is configured to use it as energy, not as a trigger for panic. This is the essence of the journey we have taken together so far. Access to the backstage of the high-performance mind. If you feel this journey made sense and you are ready to start installing this new version of yourself, write in the comments. Initializing the system. With the map in your hands and the operating system ready to install, only one question remains. What will your next step be? The theory is fascinating, but practice is what forges mastery. The real test begins now, in your next critical decision. The fact that you made it all the way to this point already tells me a lot about your commitment to this journey of transformation. You are not here looking for cheap tricks or magic shortcuts, but for deeper understanding. That is why, before we finish, I want to leave you with an invitation. If this conversation resonated with you, if you felt we took an important step together today, write in the comments, "I am going to the next level." That way, I know who is truly ready to apply this knowledge and make a difference. If you felt this connection along the way, your like is the silent and powerful way to register it. It is a signal that helps me see we are on the right path, creating content that really delivers value. We have only scratched the surface today. Every video I post here is another piece of this big puzzle of influence and applied psychology. If you want to keep building this map with me and do not want to miss the next revelations about the human mind, the invitation is simple. Subscribe to the channel and become part of this community of strategic thinkers. Our conversation does not need to end here. There is a logical next step to everything we discussed. It should be appearing for you right now on the side of the screen. It is the perfect complement to what we learned today. Click on it, and we continue this journey over there. I will see you in the next